Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Brandon, Dave, Andy, Tristam, Kate, Sasha, Isaac, Ori, Karoon, Eddie, Nick B, and Chris. And Chris and all the patrons want you guys to know out there that you are loved, you are listened to, and you are all extremely valuable members of this awesome Horror Virgin family. And if you want to hear the continued saga of the Patreonicals and the other Patreon shoutouts, check out the end of the episode where stuff got crazy last week.
There's something inside me. There's something inside me and it has to get out. I think it's the theme music.
Mikey, you have no control over your dog. Like, it just sits there and pokes you the whole time we record.
And like, we'll turn it off and I'll like go do something else and she'll just leave me alone. She like knows I'm doing stuff and that's what it is.
She legit just pulled your hand over to pet her. Mikey, you are her pet.
Thank you for tuning into the Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, you guys made me watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Yeah. So, this is the first time I had seen this movie. Mikey, I don't think you had seen it before either, right?
I have seen it before in college because my roommate...
Honestly, I feel like college is the right time for a young man to watch this movie for reasons. But Mikey, tell me all about you and your college roommate and your relationship.
It was a bunch of roommates. He bought the box set, the Nightmare on Elm Street box set.
Oh, okay.
So I know I watched it, but I don't remember anything about it. I might as well never have seen this movie before.
Oh, okay. So it was sort of like you were watching it again for the first time.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, awesome. So, Paige, but you've seen this before, right?
Yes. I watched this with my very, very, very good friend who loves horror movies and is also gay. And so we watched this together for reasons.
Well, I bet I know why after having seen this movie. Because this movie is essentially about a woman who doesn't know her friend is gay, and he's trying to tell her the whole movie.
Yeah.
I think they're more than friends, aren't they?
No.
Mikey, if you do not realize that this movie is about one man's journey to recognize and reconcile within himself his own homosexuality, it's going to be a problem.
And it's going to be a long, awkward recording, too.
Yeah, I know Freddy's arc, but what about Jesse?
Oh, Mikey. Oh, Mikey. I honestly, okay, so at the end of this, I want to talk about what I think is a better movie that's actually in this movie.
Okay.
But I didn't hate this movie.
It's fun.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought it played on some interesting themes, too. Like the whole... he was Freddy instead of like Freddy in the first one who was attacking, I think Nancy was the final girl's name in that. Yeah, like he was becoming Freddy and Lisa was still sort of the quote unquote final girl, I guess.
Yeah. Now, him becoming Freddy, this is the only movie within the series that does that. And because of that, many people think that it breaks Wes Craven's rules of the Nightmare franchise,
okay,
where it comes into the real world. And so a lot of people both working on the production really disliked that. And a lot of fans have taken issue with that, where they're like, this is not truly a Nightmare movie because it does not play by Nightmare rules.
I can see that. I think this one's scarier because I think it's harder to tell if someone's awake or dreaming in this movie than the rest of them.
I would argue that that's a plot problem.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where I was confused half the time.
Yes.
But then I was like, is that good or bad? Then,
well, I would say if it's not Freddy Krueger, then it's good, and that's a really interesting movie. But because it's Freddy Krueger and we have established rules for his world, I think that's where we get into some trouble with it.
Yeah, so when we talk at the end, I want to tell you guys what I think the better movie in this movie is, but it's going to play on all of this because this, I think, can still be a like Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but you never see Freddy. And you only have to change one detail to do that. And we'll talk about it later.
I suspect that I have already guessed what Todd's potential movie pitch is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little werewolfy, where he is killing people. He doesn't realize it's him, but everything stays in the dream world. Now, Freddy not appearing in this movie all that much is another complaint. Freddy is only in 13 minutes of this film.
And honestly, half of those 13 minutes are him just as a bus driver.
Yeah, that's true. That in a bus driver not made up as Freddy.
He looks like Phil Collins driving a bus.
He doesn't joke around in this movie at all.
No, he doesn't, which I was looking forward to.
The jokes, I think, mostly come in 3. 3 is kind of where we really get jokey Freddy.
He had some in the first one, but like 3 is when he gets a lot jokier.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen the third one, but I'm looking forward to it now.
The third one is beloved.
Yeah.
People love the third one. This one, and I feel like kind of what you're pitching of like somebody killing people in their dreams, not realizing they're doing it. I don't think that has to be a nightmare movie. I think it could be a good movie that's not a nightmare movie. But yeah, I didn't hate this. I had a lot of fun watching it.
You know why Freddy never tried to possess anyone again?
Because he was tired of putting his claws in people's mouths?
Well, I think this movie makes the case of why Freddy would never try to do this again.
Oh, because you could beat him easily.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It was really anticlimactic at the end. I'm not going to lie, man.
Freddy gathers his evil power and he's like, I could do that again. No, I did not like being inside Jesse. I don't think I'm going to do that again.
Yeah. I'm thinking that if Freddy wanted to top again, he just needs to ease into it.
Oh, yeah. Don't force it so much. Yeah. And also make sure you pay the toll.
Yeah, you got to pay the troll toll to get into that boy's soul. You've got to pay the troll toll to get in.
That's what we were missing. Honestly, that's the only reason we needed Danny DeVito. He just needed to pay the troll toll and it would have been fine. Whatever. Let's just get into this fucking movie.
We open on a school bus driving down a calm suburban street when scratchy letters appear on the screen spelling out Nightmare on Elm Street, and then we see Freddy's Revenge.
Yes.
So the bus pulls up to a house and a bunch of kids get off the bus, and we see inside the bus there's kind of a nerdy looking kid alone towards the back of the bus, and he's oddly sweaty.
Very sweaty, yes.
Throughout the whole movie. It's not just the dream world. Jesse's got COVID.
The bus stops again, more kids get off, it stops again, and then all but the nerdy kid in the back and 2 girls get off the bus.
Right.
The 2 girls remaining on the bus are talking shit about him within earshot, which is...
I know, they're like 3 seats away and they're like, this kid's an idiot or whatever. Like,
yeah.
They're being super mean. Although I sort of got the impression, maybe not in this scene, but like the few scenes after, that he was like the new kid.
Yeah, and I think it's a little strange because he seems to instantly have friends.
Not only does he instantly have friends, but he drives Lisa to school like on the first day of school or whatever. And like, how does that happen? Also, she's the rich friend. Why does she need to ride to school with him and his deadly dinosaur, his car? Like, that made no sense to me.
The bus speeds past the girls' stop and they start to scream, and it drives off the road into what is essentially Joshua Tree.
Yes. Yes. It is like the high desert. Let me ask you guys this, though. Did you notice it was Robert Englund who was driving?
I did.
I did, too. I was like, it's the professor from Urban Legend. But when he shifts the gear and then drives into Joshua Tree, that's when you see the gloved hand.
Right, exactly.
So you know at that point that it is.
Right. The girls are freaking out. The nerdy kid doesn't seem to be as worried about it. They cut to a shot of the front of the bus that looks like it has fangs. Like the grill of the bus has like a snarling face.
It looked like it was in maximum overdrive.
Yeah. Fun fact, it's right around the same time. It's only a few years before that.
Yeah. And it also is cocaine fueled.
Oh, yeah. So they try to get out of the bus, but the windows are stuck. They can see the ground collapsing around the bus all around them. The bus is now on the edge of a cliff. We pull back and we see that the bus sits on 2 giant like stacks of rocks in the middle of a smoking pit.
Now, when you say giant, what you really mean is miniature set. That is very clearly a miniature.
They took a page out of the Evil Dead book and were like, what if we use Hot Wheels here? I think Hot Wheels could work.
Yeah.
We then cut to the front of the bus where we reveal that Freddy is the bus driver. He laughs and he moves towards the girls and the nerdy guy in the back. The bus pitches back and forth on the small pile of rocks. And as it is about to fall, we cut to a shot of tomato slices and what sounds like a woman screaming.
But it's Jesse upstairs, right?
Yeah, the little sister's like, why can't Jesse wake up like anyone else? Which means that Jesse's been screaming himself awake his entire life, which is wild.
Yeah, no, I know, Paige. And the parents seem like, whatever, it's a regular thing. Which means it happened before he came to this house.
Yeah, well, and also, speaking of his parents, did you recognize his father?
No, I did not.
It's Clu Gulager from Return of the Living Dead.
What? Wait, who was he in Return of the Living Dead?
So he was Bert in Return of the Living Dead.
Okay, awesome.
Oh.
We cut up to the bedroom where...
He is super sweaty, like sitting up in bed, shirtless.
He had a night terror.
I have woken up in a fit of like scare like that before, and I've been like super sweaty. And, I stood up, I started walking across my unpacked room, and I had to adjust my nuts.
Yes! Did you watch his bulge through the entire film? Because it happens multiple times, and it is highlighted in his, acid-washed jeans.
Paige, how could I not?
I did not catch that bulge.
Mikey, it's okay to admit you saw his package.
I didn't look at his nuts that much.
Mikey suffers, Paige, from what we call package blindness. Like, if UPS drops off something at his door, he'll never see it.
That's true. They have to text me the picture, and then I'll go out and get it.
Is that why he couldn't see the dick neck when we did 50 Shades? Anyways, he's not just sweaty. He looks like he just sat through the splash zone at a whale show at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
He is drenched.
That is what I look like when I work out, okay? So let's hold these insults down.
Working out makes sense, but to the point where I'm worried that his parents aren't like, we need to take you to a doctor for this perspiration problem. Son, you're constantly wet. So, yes, he adjusts his bulge in the tidy whities. Then we cut back to the kitchen where his family's having breakfast, and he comes down fully clothed. His dad tells him that he wants his room unpacked by tonight, and it is Bert from Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the extremely racist cereal?
No. What?
Okay. On the cereal box is a Asian-looking gentleman.
Oh, no.
And the name of the cereal is Fu Manchus.
No! Why, Wes?
Wes is not very involved in this film.
Oh, okay. Why, person who directed this
The sister
movie?
goes, I'm going to find the prize. And I was like, oh, my God.
Well, and then here's what's so crazy. She's digging for the prize. And while she's doing it, we're getting some kind of exposition about how it's so hot upstairs.
Yeah, the air conditioner's out. Yeah.
So she's digging for the prize, and she pulls out effectively red fingernails that look like Freddy's glove. But also, if you've ever watched old kung fu movies.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
It was
no.
just double racist.
I didn't pick up on any of that stuff.
I was sitting on my couch and I started the movie and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be that kind of movie.
Yeah, Mikey, an 80s movie.
I was like, I hate rewatching these movies as an adult and noticing all the terrible things I didn't notice when I was a child.
So we cut to the front door. Lisa is there, and he's supposed to drive her to school. They get into his car, which he does not have a key for. He basically hot wires his car every time they drive it.
But I mean, he does point out that his car is sort of a POS, and he calls it the Deadly Dinosaur, and he's like, no one's going to steal this. But listen, yeah, they would.
Yeah, it's a sweet-ass convertible.
I know. It's a convertible. It's a fixer-upper, but I mean, someone's going to steal that.
I thought it was just like one of those keyless entry models.
It's a push-button start keyless entry. In 85.
So we cut to school where it looks like I couldn't tell if they were in PE or practice.
No, they're in PE.
PE, that's definitely where you do archery.
Thank you. I was like, the boys are playing baseball. The girls are literally shooting arrows right next to the baseball field.
They're on the same field.
Yeah.
They're just in the outfield shooting arrows.
That's not going to hurt anybody.
The girls have to train for the Hunger Games because there's a lot less of them than the boys
That's true. There's only like 3 girls and like 12 boys at this school.
Yeah, they've got to fend those dudes off.
Well, to be fair, Freddy murdered a lot of children in this town. There's not a lot of kids at school.
But no one seems to remember it. That's what like Grady talks about it, but Lisa, who we think has lived there a while, she has no recollection of it. Her parents don't remember it. And this is where I kind of started to wonder, is he the new kid because he seems to know people, or did his family just move to a nicer house in the city?
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know. They never answer that. And they do say that Nancy's diary is from 5 years ago, but
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 1 came out the year before this did.
Right, but it is set in 1981, the year that Wes
Yes.
Craven wrote.
Okay, so it is 5 years later, but still, you
Right.
would remember, hey, 8 kids that went to our school got murdered 5 years ago. You'd remember that. That would like...
Not just that, 8 kids got murdered in the first movie, but he still murdered 30 people before he became the Demon Freddy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
So there is a low level of children in this class because this is probably right around that age.
That's true. That's true.
They're just like, all those kids went to a farm upstate.
Actually, they went to this empty boiler factory of some sort. When you think about it, Freddy is a lot like Mikey in that he could fuck a bunch of kids up.
Oh, God.
He could really fight some kids.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but those kids aren't evil, though. So, I mean, I draw a line somewhere.
Well,
Okay.
I'd imagine you draw the line at, like right getting into high school age. Anything younger than
Oh,
that, you'll
no,
fight.
no,
Anything
no.
older than that, you won't fight.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm like, oh, they could use a baseball bat. We can't fight that age.
Dude, they have a bow and arrow, and they're training in PE to shoot it. Mikey, do not fight those children.
Here's a follow-up question. Do you think that they're doing archery in PE to train, knowing that Freddy exists in this town as a threat?
Oh, I love this. Okay, so no, I love this idea because like what we aren't watching is when this 6 weeks is over and they're done learning archery, they learn like hand-to-hand knife glove combat skills.
Yes. Like machete throwing.
Yeah, instead of learning like kickball and line dancing, they learn
Right.
archery and how to disarm someone like you're in Mossad.
Well, and here's the thing. I know that in high school, in other places, that archery is a PE thing. Like, I realize.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, like my school didn't have money for that, but we used to play a boarding school locally that did, like,
Yeah.
for sports, and they had archery. So, like, I know that it's not crazy that they would be doing archery in PE.
It's crazy they'd be doing it on the same field that someone's
It
playing
is-
baseball.
Yes. Yeah, and I do like to think that it is just Defense Against the Dark Arts self-defense class.
And you know what? They are going to have to replace that teacher next year.
Yeah.
So it is very Harry. Guys, this movie's just like Harry Potter, really.
Yeah.
It's about a boy believing in himself and truly understanding who he is and then facing the Dark Lord.
And coming to grips with the man inside of him.
Boom. Yes.
Now, back to the baseball that they're playing. He gets pantsed and he's only wearing a jock strap.
Yes.
So we get like full ass man wrestling
Oh, yeah.
for a long time in various stages of undress.
Okay, literally, they are just trying to pull each other's clothing off.
Yeah.
And then the teacher comes over and says, assume the position, which I thought was a weird thing to say. Instead
Yeah.
of like, hey, break it up. Like, let's stop fighting. He does not try and stop the fight.
And then the position apparently is Cobra pose because they're not doing real push-ups. They're just pushing up with their arms.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a thing. Did you guys not do that?
No, well, I've planked, but planking
Yeah.
would be on your elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can do a high plank, but like
Yeah.
their legs were touching the ground. So
I think they were supposed to be high planking because when we see them in that pose, the teacher's like inside looking out the window every so often to like see that they're doing it. So I think they're just like half-assing it because the teacher's not there to see them.
also the jock straps were weird because they're not in uniforms or anything. They're just wearing like sweatpants and shorts.
The girls are all in their regular clothes.
Yeah.
So are the guys. So they're not wearing like baseball uniforms or football uniforms or anything like that.
the guys are at least in like sweatpants, t-shirts, and shorts. You know, they don't match, but they're in
They're like gym outfits. Yeah.
yeah, like activity clothes.
Usually don't wear a jock strap unless it's like you're like suiting up to like play sports.
Well, they are playing baseball. You don't want to take well, it's probably softball. You don't want to take a softball to the package, Mikey. I know you can't see it if it happens, but you don't want to have it happen.
Well, and I mean, I just thought it was strange that like they're actually dressed up to play stuff. The girls are literally in their regular clothes. No changes at all.
Yeah.
So we cut to the school office where the coach is smoking and watching them.
Yeah. Can you imagine a world in which teachers were allowed to smoke inside the school?
That's wild.
It is wild.
We cut back to them planking, and Jesse says, how long do we have to do this? And Grady, the other guy, says, this could be all night. This guy gets his rocks off at S&M Places downtown, which at the time that he says this, in my mind, I was like, that could be real. It could just be a way to say that he likes causing people pain and that it's not real. And then Grady continues and says, yeah, he likes pretty boys like you. Then he asks, what about the girl that you drive to school? Are you mounting her nightly or what?
Which I thought was a very weird question to ask, especially if Jesse's new at school and doesn't really know Grady that well.
See, this conversation is what made me think they just moved to a different house in the same town.
Yeah, that could be too.
And that he did know Grady. But yeah, if this is their first time like talking and broing out, very strange.
I thought Grady was trying to find out if he was into girls or not.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of evidence to that in the movie. There's a couple scenes later, Grady reacts to something in a way that is just not really fitting the situation, but does really suggest a narrative of jealousy surrounding Jesse's relationship with the girls.
Yeah.
I think it strongly suggests it. Yeah.
We'll get there.
So they hit the shower, then we cut to the boys' locker room. At this point, Grady's still trying to talk to him the whole time. Remember, they got into a fight earlier today, and Grady is like, just keeps at it. He keeps trying to kind of like make friends with him. And the movie kind of initially set him up as like the bully, but then they quickly have kind of a weirdly close friendship.
Yeah, it's almost like they both found each other attractive and we're just finding ways to be around each other. And the way Grady is finding, staying around him is by telling him like, oh, so wait, you just moved into that house? Man, your dad's a fool. Someone went crazy and locked their daughter in the room or whatever. He's like telling him I guess he's telling him what the town thinks happened in the first movie.
Yeah, and Grady seems to be the only one that knows about it until later.
Well, in all fairness, Grady has failed his senior year 6 times. So he was in school when it happened because that dude's conservatively 31 years old.
Hey, Grady would not have fought him if he would have been paying attention and caught that ball, not gotten hit in the head.
Of course you would take the jock bully side in all of this, Mikey.
I'm going to say that Grady has a vested interest in balls hitting people in the face. He basically tells him the story of what happened in the first movie.
Yeah.
And this is where Jesse says they're not rich, but they've moved into a rich neighborhood. So we cut back to the house where, again, Jesse's having trouble sleeping because of the heat.
Yeah.
And he goes downstairs in what looks like hospital scrubs.
I think they were just his PJs, but they do look like hospital scrubs. And so much happens so fast here. He's dreaming. We come to find out. But he like goes downstairs. He like tries to get a glass of water or whatever.
Orange juice. Yeah, he breaks a jar of orange juice.
He like opens the fridge and is like, we got some purple stuff. We got some OJ. We got some Sunny D. And then he knocks the glass over or whatever. And then he sees someone walking outside and he goes outside and he sees Freddy.
Why would you go outside?
I don't know. If you see someone outside, call the cops immediately.
Right.
Anyway, so he goes outside and he sees Freddy through the outside window, but Freddy's inside the basement in that furnace thing.
Which, like, I guess this is an old house, so it may have a furnace and a boiler.
Yeah,
but
I guess.
was like, how many houses have a furnace and a boiler in the 80s?
I mean, I don't know. And it looks like a relatively new-ish house, but
I thought it wasn't functioning in the first movie.
Well, so it looks like at certain points in this movie that it is old and non-functioning, which would suggest that this was an older house that's been renovated and they no longer need it, but it was more costly to move it, so they just left it there.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot more sense, I would say. So he looks down into the basement. He sees a shadow. He goes back inside, goes to the basement door from the inside, closes the basement door, or like opens it, looks and sees somebody moving towards the door, tries to close it. The door won't close. because Freddy's already got it. He calls for his dad. Freddy's fighting him with the door and finally catches him and basically confronts him outside the basement, at which point Freddy puts one of his claws in his mouth.
Yes, it's very strange.
And very sexual, and it was Robert Englund's idea,
Ooh.
allegedly. And the actor was not super sure that he wanted to do it and ended up doing it. And some people say that this scene is the like crux of people interpreting this as a coming of age gay sexuality story. I think there's a lot more evidence.
Yeah, I think there's
like
a lot
this.
more than just this. Yeah.
I don't think it's just this. I think it's the whole damn movie.
It's pretty overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard to miss.
Hard. Now, at this point, Freddy says, "We have special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body, I've got the brain." And then he pulls skin off his head, revealing his brain. But there would be a skull there. All I'm going to say is if he doesn't have a skull, that means that under his hat, his head's just kind of like, whoa, 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 with his
Hot
brain.
take, Paige. Hot take. The hat is his skull.
That's his true weakness.
like a snail, like the hat
Yes.
is his shell.
And Mikey, his true weakness is the love of a good woman.
We cut back to the bedroom where he wakes up sweating and screaming again. And he does have a very feminine scream.
That hurts, Paige. I take that personally.
He does have a very feminine screen.
Wait, are you talking about me or are you talking about the actor?
Both.
Oh, well, that's hurtful, Mikey. I mean, accurate, but also hurtful.
So we cut from him waking up back to school where they're sitting through a lecture on poop.
I noticed that, and I was like, this is very strange.
Why? It's literally a lecture on poop.
And then the teacher, to amp it up, literally takes out like an animal organ and slaps it down on his desk. Why?
Jesse's sleeping through it. The teacher,
Yes.
he says it's a heart. He plops a heart on the table, but it's clearly just like a steak.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's not a
yeah.
heart, baby. Yeah.
It's a tri-tip or something. Just like,
You actually see that quote-unquote heart later at the pool scene when they're grilling stuff up.
How do you like your heart? Oh, medium rare.
Oh, yeah.
now, this next section is baffling because Jesse dreams, and we're to believe that he's having a nightmare again, but he dreams that there's a snake curving around him in class trying to strangle him. He wakes up screaming, and there's a real snake.
Yeah.
Yes!
I was blown away that it was real and that the teacher had the balls to blame Jesse for a snake attacking him.
Which, because here's my thing. He pulls the snake off Jesse, puts it back in its terrarium, but I'm like, so that snake is just fucking loose in the classroom?
Yeah, and that's okay, and that's not the teacher's fault.
Well, and then, like, the bully guy's laughing really hard like he did it, but no one did it, and no one is asking any questions.
I know.
Right. And he like smirks and flips Grady off, me almost to be like, haha, good joke, way to put your snake all over my face. But like,
And Grady's like, this dude's had balls and a huge snake on his face. He's definitely my type.
and I had questions where I was like, did they put the snake on him, but we never see it? And how could they do that without the teacher noticing? And like, it's just very strange.
Yes.
So this is the part I was talking about earlier where, like, from the jump, I have no idea what is dream, what is reality. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and it blurs them both all the time.
Yeah.
I thought the whole SNN club was a dream for like 10 minutes.
Wait till we get there.
Yeah.
But like the snake thing starts it.
Yeah.
And like it's confusing, but also, I mean, it's like it's unsettling. So in some ways I like it, but in some ways I don't.
Yeah. And I would argue that it makes for a lot of confusion and doesn't add a lot to the plot.
I mean, this is 80s Fight Club, really.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I mean, that's basically what this movie is just Fight Club with less gay undertones and more knife gloves.
And honestly, people don't confuse the villain of this movie.
That's true.
Like, people think Tyler Durden's the hero of the movie.
It's because they don't realize
insane.
that Chuck Palahniuk is gay and it's, a referendum on toxic masculinity, but whatever. And like this movie, yes, they're like knife glove, clearly the villain.
Yeah, right?
So he calls Lisa. She gets out of the pool to answer. And he tries to go out to meet with Lisa. So he's back home after school.
Yeah, and he's like trying to go outside. He like goes downstairs, like he's about to go hang out with Lisa, and his dad's like, no, You got to unpack that room. You told me you'd do it yesterday and you have not done it. Get back up there. He's like, I only want to leave for like a few hours. He's like, no, go upstairs. And he does. He goes back upstairs and starts to, what I will say, have the most interesting clean up your room / unpack montage.
Here's the thing. First of all, most of those boxes are empty.
Well, clearly, he literally gets up to his room, pops in a tape that I thought was wildly different music than I think someone in 1985 would be listening to, especially a boy in 1985, because it sounds like an 80s equivalent of the band Cherub, if you've ever heard them.
I have not.
Oh, they're great.
It is an interesting music choice, for sure.
Yes, well, but not if you realize that he's...
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the other thing. There's some debate about this scene where the actor claims that he only did the things that were literally written in the script. And then there are other people on set that are like, yeah, we just told him to dance however he wanted, and this is how it came out.
I don't know, man. He closes a dresser drawer with his butt, and I feel like the director would have had to ask him to do that.
Yeah, because they have shots of it. Like, that's the thing. They have a close-up of it.
Yeah.
So he closes the dresser with his butt.
Like, I just refuse to believe that they were like, hey, why don't you just go ahead and dance? And then the actor on set made the choice to, like, boogie up to the dresser and close it with his butt, and the director was like, that's genius! Let me get a close-up of that. Like, I refuse to believe that that's how it shook out. I'm 100% sure the director wanted it on day one.
I don't know. I mean, it's like a ripoff of Risky Business, but like in a really just not a. It's definitely not as cool.
So yeah, the actor claims that it was written as a ripoff to Risky Business, and that's what it's supposed to be.
I've never heard someone say a less cool Risky Business,
which is not super cool.
Yeah, I don't think you need to quantify that.
I mean, it's like instead of like the dark Ray-Bans, it's like sparkly blue glasses.
It is, yeah. This is like that video. I don't know if you guys remember this video from forever ago on YouTube, but it's like two girls about to redo the scene from Risky Business, and one girl slides out, like achieving the Risky Business shot, and then another girl slides out and falls and hits her head. That is what happens in this movie, trying to copy Risky Business. They slip and hit their head.
Well, and he grabs, because he even does, and this does happen in Risky Business too, he grabs a pop gun and it basically is like thrusting with it as if it's a fake dick. But the difference in this movie is, because in Risky Business I think it's the remote control or something.
Yeah, it's the remote.
And yeah, in this it's a pop gun, and he like ratchets the pop gun and it pops almost like an ejaculation. And that's when the mom and the friend Lisa walk in.
Lisa comes in.
And if you notice, there's a sign on the door that says no girls allowed, and they break rule 1.
It says no chicks.
Oh,
yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
And he just says, I was just cleaning my room. And so Lisa's like, I'll help. So Lisa comes in to help, but she's asking him where things go. And she just goes, where does this go? And it's a can of jock itch spray.
She throws it to him and he catches it. Yeah.
Label out.
Well, I don't know if you know this. Half of the budget of this movie was for that jock itch spray. Like they paid a lot for that product placement.
There's actually other product placement in this movie that I took some notes on that is wild.
Those Fu Manchu cereals were everywhere in the 80s.
And we're about to see another one, because she asks where the sweaters go, and he's like, I don't know. So she hangs him up in the closet. And then if you see, as she goes up and where she finds Nancy's diary, there's also the board game Probe, which I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's a Twister type game.
Well, I also love that she's like, do sweaters go in the closet? And I was like, yeah, they do.
Paige.
That's where sweaters go.
Paige, his answer was, no, nothing stays in the closet.
I mean, that would have made this a better movie. So they find Nancy's diary in the closet.
Yes.
It's 5 years old, and they start reading from it. And the first entry they read is Nancy basically peeping Tom Glenn from the original movie.
Yeah, this felt very reminiscent of the story Mikey told in our 50 Shades of Grey episode on Romancing the Pod, where he just took the book away from him and starts reading it aloud in front of everybody. Because that is exactly what Lisa does here, and it's very 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah,
it is.
I don't remember Nancy writing in a diary in the first film, and she's like, October 1st, Freddy's coming to kill us. October 2nd, Freddy's killed 3 people. Things are going real bad. Write again later.
Well, to be honest, there's some debate about the origins of this movie and how Nancy fits into it and how the director and the screenwriter interacted when making this movie. I don't remember Nancy with a diary. I don't think she had one. I think it's a plot device, but
I think it's also plausible that a high school girl in the 80s would keep a diary and it just would not be mentioned. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So the diary does describe Freddy, just like Mikey said. It is like, he's coming to kill us. We're going to try a thing tonight.
Dear diary, today I watched Johnny Depp get murdered across the street while my mom locked me in. Things are going real bad. Creating homemade claymores for Freddy when he comes for me.
Talk tomorrow, maybe.
Maybe, question mark. As they're reading the diary, it's very clear that Jesse is recognizing some of the information in the diary as things from his dreams. And he kind of recalls what Grady told him about the girl that used to live there. We cut to that night where he's shirtless, covered in sweat, and tossing and turning. He wakes up and his lamp has melted. Candles and other things around his room have melted. There's a record melting on his vanity. He goes out to investigate. He goes to the basement. He opens the door to the boiler and he sees that there's a rag with the glove inside, and the fire in the boiler ignites.
Which is how Nancy found it in the first one, right?
Yeah.
I thought I remembered that sort of scene happening. I just wanted to make sure I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Freddy is there and he encourages him to try the glove on. Jesse drops it. And Freddy just says, "Kill for me," and the fire goes out.
I'm sorry. I thought that was such a strange request to ask someone immediately. Like, hey, try on this glove real quick. All right, cool. Kill for me! Like, it was so weird.
This is why Freddy never comes back to this, because he's not a good salesman. So, he starts off, he's like, hey, just put the glove on. We know it's going to be great. You're going to have fun. Then he drops the glove. He just goes, just kill for me, okay? God!
Yeah, he doesn't give him any other information either. The fire goes out, but the glove is still there. And we cut to the next day where he's telling Lisa that he was sleepwalking. She suggests it's a premonition.
Yeah.
And she asks to borrow this diary, and she tells him about a party at her house this weekend, and she kisses him, but it's a very friendly kiss.
It is very much like in between. It's like half on cheek, half on lips. He looks like he's just like, oh, okay. Is that something we do as friends?
Their kissing is like she sees a piece of food on his mouth and tries to suck it out with her mouth. That's what the kissing looks like to me.
What is kissing like in your life, Mikey?
No, I'm saying they have such terrible kissing chemistry. Like when she sees his mouth, she's like, oh, okay, it looks like there's food there. Let me go.
Yeah, but Mikey, you could also just say, it seems like he's not into girls. You don't have to say that it's like she's sucking food off his face.
Her kissing skills were not great either, Todd.
Damn, Lisa, Mikey's putting you on blast.
I've seen plenty of actors who are not straight kiss women on Hallmark movies, and they at least make it believable.
It's because they're good actors, Mikey.
Right, exactly. I mean, these two people are kissing like they read about what kissing is and are trying it based on the book's description.
Well, I honestly thought that Lisa made an actor's choice to kiss him in this scene, and he had no idea it was going to happen. So he was like, what is this? What are we doing right now? Because that's the way he's acting.
But even their passionate kiss, it's like,
I have thoughts on their actual kiss
Oh,
later.
You mean where he's doing everything he can not to kiss her or not to touch her boobs with his mouth? We'll get to it.
He's just super into sternum.
So we cut to him and Grady running together.
And he's super into it.
And they're talking about their dreams. He's trying to tell Grady about it. And Grady's like, yeah, I have dreams. Wet ones.
He asked Grady, do you remember your dreams? And he goes, only the wet ones. It's so gross and so stupid. Like, it's so funny. But Grady, I think, is like, trying to move things in a sexual direction with Jesse. I get it.
Yeah.
I've definitely made a joke with a girl I was interested in that was sort of on the line between just straight up joke and a little flirtatious just to see how things went. And it went badly. But still, I understand why he did this.
I've been there, Todd.
Next, we cut to them shirtless in the locker room. And Grady is saying that the coach has to stick up his ass today and always, which means that they have to plank outside again.
Well, because the coach was right behind him, so he's like...
he sneaks up behind him.
Which I think was Grady's plan, because they just got done showering, and he knew if he got caught, they'd have to go to assume the position again, get all sweaty, and have to shower again.
Maybe.
He wanted 2 cracks at Jesse. I get it.
2 cracks at Jesse's crack.
Exactly, Paige.
I think this coach would have been fired
Yeah, probably.
for many reasons.
So we cut back to Jesse's house where his younger sister is playing with weird parakeets.
Yes.
Who were not established in any other part of the movie. They're just like,
No.
shush, the birds are sleeping. And I was like, what the fuck? Is this a dream again?
Also, it's a super hot house. They established that it's 97 degrees inside the house, which, by the way, when I worked in retail, we closed a store for that when the air conditioning was broken. Like, you should not be inside if it's that hot in that house.
You should go outside or open all the doors and windows because it's nighttime and it's definitely cooler outside.
Yeah, if you don't get them out of the house, your birds explode.
That's what I learned. I learned that birds spontaneously combust at 97 degrees. It turns the birds mad with rage first, and then they explode.
Now, granted, if I'm in a place that's 97 degrees, I'm going to act like that.
What they're alluding to is we get a sense that the birds are not sleeping. They're under like a cage cover. They pull the cage cover off, and one bird is murderous.
Yes.
And then attacks the dad, and then destroys like half the house, and then spontaneously combusts.
Okay, we got to break this down because, one, it's a very small bird.
It is.
And it's a very long scene.
Fun fact, it's a small real bird, but originally they had made a small demonic looking bird animatronic.
What? Oh, I wish we had seen that.
And they scrapped it because they didn't think it looked enough like a real bird.
I mean, I'm sure it didn't. It was 85.
This little canary has about as much screen time as Freddy.
Yes. It's also supposed to be a nod to the movie The Birds.
Really?
Yes. It turned out so badly that they wanted to just scrap the entire scene from the movie, but they couldn't because that would have put them under time.
It is only 87 minutes long.
Yeah,
it's a short-ass
yeah.
movie. I do like that when the bird explodes, it's not feathers and like bird parts
No.
that you see like raining down on them. It's like a combination of feathers, leaves, and twigs.
Yeah, and just fire.
Yeah.
To me, it was the Death Star blowing up Alderaan plus like 2 feathers.
So now his dad wants him to try and move the oven because there's quote unquote a gas leak, which there's not. And then his dad accuses him of setting up the bird to die with a firecracker.
Yeah.
Which, like, how would that even happen?
I mean, I guess he could have stuck something inside the bird and then lit it like an hour ago. And I mean, it's there's no way it could happen. It's ridiculous.
Right.
I think it's a plausible. I mean, you just watched a bird explode for no reason. I mean, like, it's plausible to be like, did you blow this bird up? I mean, that's a question.
It's a question, but he's just like, you did this. And I'm like, how, man? Like, how?
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not a question, Mikey. It's an accusation. And he's not Kate from the Patreonicals. He can't blow birds up with his mind.
What are accusations, Todd? But just unanswered questions.
Hey, Mikey, I might need you to be my lawyer at some point in the near future. So if you could go ahead and get a law degree, that'd be super helpful. Thank you so much. Bye.
We cut to later that night, and again, he wakes up sweaty and shirtless, and he goes downstairs in what will become his murder outfit.
Yes.
The blue, like, tank top.
That's just like open,
Yeah.
which like I don't know why he's just constantly walking around with an open shirt, sweating, but he is.
God, you must hate Aladdin.
I can show you your death.
The genie's Freddy. That's what this movie is.
Who was the poo? The bird. The bird was the poo. He killed the bird.
He goes downstairs. Lightning strikes their dishes inside for no reason. It's never addressed. We never come back to it. We don't explain it again ever.
This was so insane. I was like, oh, he's definitely dreaming.
So he goes out into the street again, shirt open, comfy jeans, Christian Grey style.
Absolutely, yes.
And he walks past like seedy motels,
Yeah.
then walks into a bar called Don's Place, and he's clearly a high schooler. Which
Right.
again, at this point, I was like, he's clearly dreaming, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Because also, whose neighborhood like that is 2 blocks down from the Dom
Yeah,
Club?
he walked from a very nice neighborhood to a seedy part of town very quickly.
So here's a fun fact: the front of the house is in West Hollywood,
Yeah.
or West LA, and you could walk a couple blocks to an S&M club from almost anywhere in Los Angeles. That. Here's the sad part. That part didn't seem implausible to me.
The fact that you can walk from your front door to an S&M club is an LA guarantee.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, how far do you want to walk? Like, it's 4 miles to the Eagle, but if you're motivated,
But how far does it take to walk to the M&M Club?
Oh, Mikey, that's a delicious club. You don't want to know where they put them, though, Mikey,
In your mouth?
yeah, not in your hand.
because that's where they melt, Mikey.
I just like candy, and I don't know if this joke's about the same thing as that.
So he shows up to Don's Place and just like sidles up to the bar. No one thinks it's weird that he's drenched in sweat and shirtless.
Well, it was raining. He's drenched in rain. He's also in an S&M club. I'd imagine they do like theme nights. He might just be like a day late or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but he's also a straight up teenager.
Yeah.
And he's just like, can I get a beer? And people are like, yeah. And no one questions it. No one IDs him, nothing. Here's what really bothered me. They hand him a bottle of beer and a highball glass?
And he pours beer into a glass. I've never drank alcohol in my life. And I know you don't drink beer out of a glass like that.
Yeah, it's you would drink it out of like a pint glass or
Yeah,
something.
or just out of the bottle.
I'll take a shot of beer.
Yeah, it's a highball. It's like
what you drink scotch out of.
Yeah, it's like a scotch glass. Now, from behind him, a hand claps him on the shoulder, and his coach is there.
No, he claps him on his arm because he's trying to drink it. He like literally stops him from drinking it, and then his coach does what I think is his first definitely fireable offense, where he takes a student to school to what I would assume is do something very nefarious with him.
And he's also, I mean, no offense, he's like dressed in all leather, like Mr. Slave.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. The coach was at the S&M club, and at this point in the movie, I was like, is this a dream based on what
Yes.
Grady said about him earlier, where he's just filling in the blanks?
That's what I thought too.
And at first it does seem that way. So we cut to the school where he's making him run laps around the gym and then orders him to hit the shower.
And there's smoke, and then like fire, and there's like, it's all dream. It's like, okay, this whole thing's definitely a dream.
Well, then the coach gets out jump ropes, which this is where I realized it wasn't a dream, because Jesse's in the shower. We've established that he's there, but we're seeing what the coach is doing. And Jesse wouldn't be seeing that in his dream because he's not there.
Right.
So like, this is where I was like, oh, wait, is this real?
I mean, but we know what those jump ropes were for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the second fireable offense.
The third is that there's tons of Adidas product placement in this scene. It's like an equipment locker, and then there's just a t-shirt on a hanger. There's no other shirts. There's no reason a t-shirt should be there. It's facing directly towards the camera, and it's just Adidas.
Yeah.
In like bold letters.
And then it starts attacking him. All the equipment starts jumping off the shelf.
Yeah, the tennis rackets are snapping, balls are falling, tennis ball tubes are like popping. And again,
Balls are dropping, you might say, Paige.
balls are dropping. But again, this is stuff that Jesse's not seeing. He's completely unaware of, that we are seeing. So now we're like, okay, this is not a dream? Maybe? Question mark? So then the jump rope that he got out, which we have to believe he was going to tie him up with those jump ropes, and he was probably going to molest him.
Yeah.
So those ropes become sentient.
Yeah, they do.
They tie up the coach and pull him out of the room. Multiple shower heads come on in the shower, and the coach is dragged into the shower and tied up naked to the wall, where he is whipped repeatedly with towels as the shower fogs up.
And we see a lot of man butt in this while the towels are like popping him.
Yeah, and Jesse's just conditioning over there.
Oh, yeah. Jesse's just hanging out. Yeah.
Then Freddy appears through the fog, slashes the coach's back, and the showers run red with blood. The camera reverses, and it is Jesse with the glove, and he screams.
Yes. but doesn't wake up.
And that's the key, because I
Right.
thought when he screamed, he was going to wake up
Me
and it
too.
had just been a dream.
Same.
But no, the police bring him home. They found him wandering around the highway naked. So this really happened.
Yeah.
And these police are terrible because they find this body the next day and they're like, you think this is related to that high school kid who goes to this school that we found wandering around naked in the highway?
Nah.
No.
It can't be.
Upon arriving home, his dad is like, I just have 2 questions. What are you taking and who are you getting it from?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not taking drugs. And the dad, the next thing we cut to is the next morning, the dad is taking the bars off the window.
Which seems like when you should be installing bars, not taking them down.
Yeah. And Jesse's leaving for school and his mom is trying to kind of like catch up with him. And he just says, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then his mom goes to his dad and says he needs professional help.
Yeah.
He needs things that we can't give him. And the dad shuts her down.
Yeah, pretty bad. This is a pretty
Yeah.
bad scene for mental health stigma stuff.
Yeah.
It is bad, yeah. Because he said something like he just needs a good whipping or something like that. What does he say?
He needs a kick in the butt or a methadone clinic.
That's what it is. Oh, and he says methadone all weird. That's right.
Yeah, he
I
goes,
was like,
he needs a methadone clinic. And I was like, what?
I was like, that's not how you say that, Dad.
Yep. So he gets to school and the police are already there. Their gym teacher is dead. It was all real.
Yeah.
So we cut back to him that night. He's hot and sweaty, sleeping again. He gets out and again we get a huge bold shot in his tidy whities. He hears something moving in his dresser drawer. It's the glove moving on its own.
I mean, it's got like a whole hand in it, too.
Yeah. We hear Freddy's voice saying, "Kill for me." He puts on the same clothes as the night before, which I don't know how he got them because we found him naked.
Right.
But it's the same outfit.
I think the cops returned them. They were like, we also found these on the street.
Man, is this your vest?
They would have been in the shower. That's when he got naked.
Oh, that's true.
So like they're crime scene evidence. So I don't.
So they returned the proof that he's the murderer to the house. The mom laundered them and put them back in his closet.
Or people just didn't really think through this movie all that much.
What page? No.
Or he's a psychopath that just has the same outfit 50 times.
Nothing wrong with that.
So he goes into what is supposed to be his sister's room, but a few things about this room. She's jumping rope in the middle of the room. There's 2 chairs, a shelf full of stuffed animals. There's no bed or closet.
Yeah.
It's just the strangest room.
I thought it was cool, though, because she was in slow motion as she was skipping the rope.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a cool shot, man. They did that pretty well.
I was like, this is definitely a dream. This one I got. This was a dream.
It was a pretty big giveaway, Mikey.
Well, I thought the S&M club where he murdered the coach was one too.
We cut to downstairs the next day where he's drinking coffee and he's basically interrogating his dad. Like, why did it take them 5 years to sell this house? You didn't know about the murder. How do you think you got such a good deal? And this is where we find out that the dad did know and
Yeah.
was just like, whatever. I don't listen to it.
Well, he's not superstitious.
Well, the dad is like, there's nothing wrong with the house, but meanwhile, everything is wrong with this house. Everything's breaking. The AC doesn't work. It was 97 and a bird exploded in his house. Like, everything is wrong with this house.
Yeah, but he got a great deal. And I think we all know that the housing market is pretty terrible.
It's about to get a lot worse. But I do like that it establishes that they're like sort of poor and they could not have afforded that house
Yeah.
had it not been severely discounted. So the dad's like, listen, you deal with the ghost when you buy a murder house for cheap.
Absolutely. Get out your Confederate Ouija board.
Oh, God.
Oh, my dearest Abigail, I do believe my affections have transferred to my friend, Mr. Grady.
Dearest Frederick, why do you haunt this house?
My dearest Ronald Grady, I do not know how, if and ever, I could quit you.
I wish I could quit you.
Exactly.
So they all smell something burning, and the toaster bursts into flames, and we reveal that it wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah, because there's something wrong with the house, Dad.
So he tells Lisa about the dream. She thinks it's psychic signals.
Lisa's like your friend. Anytime you have a problem, she's like, hey, have some essential oils.
She is a little woo-woo in this movie.
She's wearing LuLaRoe in every scene.
He's like, my pet canary exploded in the living room. She's like, Mercury is in retrograde.
Peppermint and thieves oil is really good for exploding birds this season.
They drive to an abandoned power plant where Freddy previously worked
Yes.
because apparently Lisa's been like hot on the case this whole time.
Well, she does have the diary, right?
Oh, yeah.
So she could easily have like looked all that up. We just don't see that because we're not following her perspective. We're
Yeah.
following his perspective as he comes of age and realizes that he's into dudes.
Yeah.
Todd, that makes so much more sense. I'm like, how does she know all this stuff?
Yeah.
But she does have the diary. I didn't, it's like never mentioned again. So I just forgot about it.
I mean, all it would take is one scene and it would explain it.
She does mention it again a little bit later, but not here. So they walk through and she's like, do you feel anything? And they see a cabinet and he's kind of drawn to it and they open it and there's just rats in there. There's nothing special about it except that the boiler turns on back home.
Yes, but before that happens, when she goes, do you feel anything? He goes, I feel like a jerk.
Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. Oh, and she also does tell him that Freddy Krueger took 20 kids there and killed them all.
Yes, yeah. So we cut back to the house and now we cut to his sister asleep in her bed because she suddenly has a bed now. She wakes up and her brother is shirtless standing over her and he tucks her in with the glove.
Yes. And honestly, they don't really play it for much of like a jump scary thing. It is sort of ominous music, but he just sort of like tucks her in with a glove. It's not like super scary.
You hear Freddy Krueger's voice say, wake up, little girl.
Yeah, which is very uncomfortable.
Yeah. He takes a bunch of pills to stay awake. Then the next morning at breakfast, he basically skips breakfast. He goes to talk to Lisa and he says, she says, you had another nightmare. And he says, my dad thinks I'm on drugs. My mom thinks I'm crazy. And he's kind of just pulling away from everybody.
Yeah.
We cut to cafeteria at lunch. They're all sitting around and everyone's kind of like, what's wrong with Jessie? And Grady turns to him and was like, hey, do you want to maybe do something this weekend? Like go see a movie or something? Like take your mind off all the stress.
Yeah.
And in my notes, I just wrote, I think Grady just asked him out.
Yeah,
He did.
He did.
Wait, the best part about this scene is this where he says he's grounded because he pushed his grandmother down the stairs?
Yes!
And
Yes, it is!
It's insane, Mikey. Nobody addresses it like that's not the craziest thing anyone's ever said at a lunch table ever. He attempted murdered his grandma, and he's like shoving his face full of food, and they ignore all of that.
It was so funny.
And that's how we find out that everyone's going to be at Lisa's party the next day, except for him.
Right.
Because he tried to murder his grandmother.
He's got his own Freddy inside him.
He gets kind of mad about it because everyone's telling him to like shut up or whatever. And so he leaves the table in a huff. This is where I was like, he just asked him out and he turned him down and he had kind of a bad reaction to it. And then he turns and he like places his hands on Jesse and he just says, see you around, buddy, and then walks away.
I know. I mean, it's sort of sad. I honestly thought that Jesse just didn't understand what he was trying to say when Grady asked him out because he was like shoving food in his face the whole time.
Or he could have just been like, did you just say you tried to murder your grandmother?
Because Jesse's into bad boys.
That's too much.
We cut to the party where Jessie is sitting alone being a total downer. And this is where her parents decide to leave the party. So they put a teen in charge of the barbecue.
Yeah. That's what you do. You start a 1950s themed pool party and you like do the cooking and then just leave the grill on fire and give it to a 16-year-old to manage. Which you see how that backfires because the whole backyard catches on fire in a second.
There's Jesse and those fireworks because he's an arsonist. I don't think you guys understand what the real meaning of this movie is.
So Jesse goes to the pool house and Lisa follows him and he says, I think I'm just going to leave. And he reiterates, I'm afraid to sleep.
He even says, I'm not super into this.
Yeah. He's like, I want to go home.
He's like, the guy I wanted to be here isn't here.
So this is where they start kissing.
Yeah.
And this scene is uncomfortable.
Okay, so like Lisa kisses him and they take a beat and then he starts to go back in and then stops. And then he goes back in. I really felt like he was fighting with himself. Like, this is what society wants me to do. I don't want to do it, but I probably should. So he like continues to kiss her.
Yeah, he is. He has her boobs in both hands like he's trying to like control them like levers. Yeah, and then he just kisses down her chest. avoiding her breasts almost completely.
Yeah.
And then he kind of, as he moves down her body, his tongue turns into this creepy gray serpentine kind of tongue. And he just immediately is like, I have to go. I can't do this.
Some chicks would be into that.
Extra long tongue. I think Gene Simmons has been making it work for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he like legit pops off of her, grabs his shoes, puts his shoes on, and then immediately goes to Grady's place.
A cute thing that was happening at the same time is all the people at the party were waiting for the parents to go up to their room, and like they knew that they were gonna like get it on, and then when the lights went off, they're like, "All right, it's party time," and then like break out the beer and they change it to 80s music.
I know. I did like that the music was like ba da ba 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 da ba ba ba,
And they knew
and
the
then
dad
like
was gonna
and then they turn the music off and it becomes like Guns N' Roses Light or whatever. Yeah.
And then it's like they've done that before. Like, okay, they're gonna go up and have sex, so we're gonna be good to go down here. And then like, of course, the dad's like, "Well, what are they doing?" And she's like, "I don't care." And I was like, okay,
let them have fun.
We immediately cut to him at Grady's house, who is not at the party because he tried to murder his grandmother.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, how much was his inheritance? That's what I want to know.
I know. He says to Grady, I need you to let me stay here tonight. And Grady's like, you're out of your mind. Go home. And he's like, no, I killed Snyder. I think there's something inside of me. And Grady basically says, you're losing it. And then he continues and says, something is trying to get inside my body. And Grady says, yeah, it's female and it's in the cabana. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Maybe not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the female. If you have a female with a penis, sure. But like, not in this case, it didn't seem to be the case.
I don't want to judge. I have no idea what Lisa's got going on down there. But I do feel like Grady also doesn't really know how sex works with a woman because it's something he's not super interested in.
Well, and because he follows it up with, Jesse says, something's trying to get inside my body. Grady says, it's female, it's in the cabana, and you want to sleep with me.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, sort of. Well, he doesn't, though. He wants Grady to watch over him while he sleeps.
Well, everybody wants to feel safe.
I know, right? He wants Grady to hold him and make the nightmares go away. I've been there. I get it.
Well,
Also, Grady sleeps in the smallest child's bedroom and bed that I have ever seen for a teenager.
I know. It's insane.
with a leather comforter.
Yeah. It seems very uncomfortable and also very hot. And we know he is prone to hot sweats. Like, this guy is going to wake up sweaty in a murderous rage like a bird.
Yes, exactly like that murderous bird.
Like a murder bird.
Murder bird. So he watches over him. And this is the position that Glenn kind of fulfills for Nancy in the first movie.
It is, yeah.
Where that whole like watch me. So I think this movie really does kind of establish them as like, yeah, Lisa, whatever. But like, no, it is truly Grady. So we cut back to the party. Lisa's going to leave the party to go find Jesse. We cut back to Grady with his crazy leather bedspread, and he's about to fall asleep when Jesse wakes up and calls for him. He says it's starting to happen again, and his hand grows into the glove. Freddy's arm bursts out of his arm.
It's crazy. It's really good effects, I think.
This is the scariest part of the movie, I think.
Well, Grady tries to get out and can't. He calls for his parents, and they come, and they're angry because I think they're just like, what are you doing with Grandma? And
She's still in the hospital.
Jesse screams, and we see Freddy's eyeball in the back of his throat, which is a pretty cool effect.
It was insane.
His chest grows a face, and the glove slits it open, and Freddy comes out basically wearing Jesse like a skin suit. There literally was a man inside him.
Yeah.
So this is where Grady's parents are yelling for him, and this is where we learn that his name is actually Ron.
Yeah. Well, someone refers to him as Ronnie earlier in the cafeteria scene, but I did like where the dad was like, Ronnie, it's your father. Open the door. Like, of course it's you, Dad. I was calling for you, and you're the only other male in the house.
Right.
Well, when he tried to kill his grandmother, they called the police.
So Freddy stabs him through the door, but he lands kind of sexy.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Like, he falls down against that door, and I'm like, hello.
Hello. I get what Jesse sees in you.
Yeah.
But the parents see like the finger knives through the door. Like, he gets him.
Yeah, and in the real world.
Yeah.
And we reverse the cut, and it's Jesse who's done all the stabbing, and he is upset about it.
Yeah.
This is the most upset he's been.
Yeah.
About killing somebody in this movie.
He's like yelling at the mirror, like, you killed him. And he's like, no, You killed him.
You killed him.
And then he takes the glove off and throws it at the mirror, and the mirror breaks.
He climbs out the window. They don't catch him.
Yeah, and he runs back to Lisa at the pool party.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to kill more of my friends.
Well, he even confesses to Lisa. He's like, I just killed Grady and I killed Snyder, and he's covered in blood. There would be no reason for Lisa to feel comfortable with what is happening right now.
Lisa really likes bad boys.
Oh, yeah. Lisa is super into dudes that aren't into her sexually.
Yeah.
She likes unavailable people.
Yeah. Mikey, can you relate?
Not in this way.
Not murder, just unavailable people.
Unavailable. Yes. But not because of their orientation.
Right.
Just because of their choices.
So he shows up at the party covered in blood. He admits that he killed everybody. And then he just keeps screaming, he's inside me, Fred Krueger. He wants to take me again.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to make you understand me?
And she's like, let's get out the candles and the tarot cards.
Ooh, it's the lover card just out of nowhere for no reason with no context. He looks at his hands and says, I've got blood on my hands. And he literally does. And he says, he owns me.
He owns this ass.
Yeah, exactly, Paige. Exactly.
Well, Freddy's the metaphor for his sexuality, right?
I think so.
Yes.
So the metaphor is that he had sex with the coach and then Grady.
I don't know that it's that explicit, but in a metaphorical way, yeah. I don't know that there's a real world version of that. Like, I don't think in the real world he had sex with the coach and Grady, but I think that's kind of what this movie posits as far as how his sexual experience is going.
Well, I wish his first one wasn't the coach. That just makes me sad for him.
Again, like I said, I don't think it actually happens. I think he kills the coach. Like, I think it's implied. So we cut back to the pool and it is boiling. The hot dogs are catching on fire, even though they're not on the grill. All the beers explode.
Paige, would you say that this party is lit?
I would. Lisa picks up the diary and reads the last page. He's evil itself. I brought him into the world. Our screams are all he needed. And this is where we realize that Freddy has locked the gate. Lisa says you can fight him. Jessie says he's coming back. The window's closed. She's trying to get him to fight it, saying that he's living off your fear.
Yes. It's just like Monsters, Inc., guys. That's what I learned. Pixar ripped off like their power source from Freddy.
In the first movie, this is true.
It is, yeah.
And this movie seeks to undermine everything the first movie did, because basically the house is exploding, the fish is dying, the TV is breaking, the pool is boiling, and Freddy explodes out of Jesse's body, saying he can't fight me, I'm him. All the doors are locked.
Right.
He catches Lisa in the kitchen and bites her leg. She kicks him in the face.
I love that just for the rest of the movie, she has like a scarf or chiff like tied around her ankle.
Yes.
It's adorable.
People are boiling alive in the pool. No one can get in to help her. She sees a knife on the table and grabs it. She screams for Jesse to help. Freddy says, I'm Jesse now. Kill me, Lisa. And she tries to stab the knife, but it won't go in.
She pretty weakly like stabs him, right?
Yeah.
And then you hear Jesse go, I love you, Lisa. Like a friend?
Like a friend? I don't know. Then Freddy throws Lisa against the wall.
Yeah.
And then he like Mikey's through those French doors.
Yeah, he like runs and jumps through them and then disappears, which is what Mikey would do after he's done with a girl. He would run through her doors and then ghost her.
Yeah, except usually she's the one saying, I love you.
Freddy jumps out of the ground in the middle of the party and kills a bunch of people.
I was super surprised because I thought the scene was done.
Me too.
Because like the boiling stops, the fire stop, and then it was like, no, Freddy like pops back up. He's like, no, I'm here to kill everybody. I was like, oh, great.
Hooray!
Her parents finally run downstairs. All the kids at the party are trapped and on fire or being trampled and stabbed.
Yeah.
Lisa's alive, but she's been through a lot. This is where we get a cut to probably one of my favorite shots in this movie, where Freddy just throws a pool chair.
Yeah.
Yes. He's just like, fuck this pool chair.
Oh, man. Okay,
it's
so
really funny.
So one of my favorite parts of this scene is where the guy starts walking towards Fred and he's like, it's going to be all right, man. No one's going to hurt you. Just tell us what you want, all right? And then the guy says to Freddy, I'm here to help you. And then Freddy goes, help yourself, motherfucker. And then kills him.
Well, he tosses him through the barbecue.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, why would you
love that
talk to this
part.
guy who just
I love that.
he just
part.
apparated like he's in Harry Potter, another Harry Potter reference, and he starts murdering people. Why would you go try and like talk him down?
I loved it. I love. That's my favorite part of the whole film. Hey man, let's just take a breath here because it reminds me of like work. Because he's like,
Yeah, I know, Mikey. I thought of you. I was like, this is what Mikey's job is.
yeah, emotions are running high, and it's Freddy Krueger. And then he's like, I'm just here to help. How would you help Freddy Krueger? I just thought it was so funny.
Freddy declares, "You're all my children now."
Yeah.
The dad comes out with a gun. Lisa tries to stop him from shooting Freddy because she thinks Jesse's still inside there. And Freddy walks basically away from the party and just explodes into flames.
He walks through the fence, but he becomes fire as he walks into it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Lisa decides that she knows where to go, so she's going to drive to the abandoned boiler room power plant factory place.
I mean, that is where she goes, yes.
And she encounters 2 dog baby hybrids.
They are dogs with really poor baby masks.
It's real strange. There's no context for it. They don't appear in any other movies, and they're just here.
Yep. Question mark?
And they don't do anything. She just walks past them. They
Yeah.
might as well not be there. It's almost like they're the Blockbuster dancing baby. Just like, yeah.
Yeah.
She walks around the factory. There's creepy swinging hooks, and she can hear the scratch of the glove on the pipes.
Yeah.
But the pipes are turned on, so she accidentally burns her hand. She unwraps her bandage, and there are ants in her leg, which is really, really super gross. But then
Yes.
she looks back down, and the bandage is still in place, meaning it was a dream.
Yeah.
As she continues to walk through, rodents of unusual size, I don't think they exist.
And they don't, because this is a regular sized rat. It's the same rat from before. It's just now Freddy rat.
Freddy rat.
But then it gets pounced on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she trips, she screams, she gets up, she tries to run, but Freddy is right there. She runs, but it's a dead end.
Wait, you guys are really skipping over the fact that the Freddy rat was killed by Freddy Cat, and then they both just run off?
Wait, there was a Freddy cat?
Yeah, I didn't see the Freddy cat. I thought that's what I thought the ROUS was.
No, the
Oh.
regular rat was scaring her, and then a Freddy Cat jumped over and killed the Freddy rat.
Oh, that makes
was
a
like-
lot more sense.
It was like the old Freddy who swallowed a fly going on.
Oh, jeez.
There was an old Freddy who swallowed a rat.
I was totally expecting the baby masked dog to come kill the cat, and I was like, what is happening?
Oh, that would have been awesome if Freddy dog like
So if the rat gets eaten by the cat and the cat gets eaten by the dog, did the dog get eaten by a baby and that's why it's a hybrid?
who knows?
So she trips, she screams, she gets up, Freddy's right there, she runs, but it's a dead end, and she basically starts trying to talk to Jesse inside Freddy, and
Yeah.
Freddy just keeps saying, Jesse's dead.
There is no more Jesse. I'm Jesse. He's me. We're Freddy. Call me by my preferred name, please.
Fressy.
Freddy.
Or Jenny. Now, she seems to get a little confidence where she says, I love you, Jesse, and Freddy starts to bleed. She starts to run away, but then she turns and says, I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
He's in there and I want him back. I'm going to take him away from you and you're going to go straight back to hell, you son of a bitch.
Okay, I'm picking up the metaphor more now.
Yeah. This is the part of the movie that I think is a little problematic.
Yeah, a little bit.
The first time I watched this, I just thought it was Freddy's fear of commitment.
So she keeps trying to get him to come back. Freddy is losing his grip. Freddy keeps saying he'll die with me. And Lisa gets closer and closer. She takes the hat and then she makes out with Freddy.
Yeah, that seems like something Robert Englund was like, yeah, well, what if we like kissed? What if we can we kiss? Would that be
And
cool?
yet, the kiss had more chemistry than her and Jesse's kisses.
It did indeed.
Agreed.
Agreed. There's a storm. The factory catches on fire. This looks like it was filmed on the backdraft ride at Universal.
Yeah.
Because it's all just like pipes where there's like fire along the pipes. And you're like, how did it? And they do close-ups so you can see where they put the accelerant there.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
What is happening?
Does Freddy say something about killing himself, or Jesse does, or somebody?
No, but he's clearly weak and losing his grip. He screams, he catches on fire, and his face starts to melt off. His whole body catches on fire, then the fire goes out. And then she kind of keeps her distance until he gets up, and it's clearly Jesseeee breaking out of like a burned Freddy shell.
Yeah, he's like pulling the Freddy shell off of him. Yeah. This is where I think he has come to grips with his sexual orientation, because she runs over to him when she sees it's Jesseeee, and they don't kiss, baby. He's like side hugging her.
Yeah.
Like he puts his head in between her head and shoulder, so there's no chance of a kiss.
So we then cut to him going back to school, and his hands are badly burned.
Yeah.
But he gets on the bus, he sits next to Lisa, and I'm like, he killed their classmate and their school teacher.
Yeah.
No one has questions.
And there's a bunch of people at that pool party.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, even if he didn't kill them, a lot of people died this week.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be on the bus.
And honestly, maybe they should cancel school for a bit. Like, some people are going to have to process some feelings.
Well, and the friend that's sitting behind them was like, great party. I can't tell if she's kidding or not. I don't know.
Well, this whole sequence, I think, is a dream.
Yeah, so it's a bumpy bus ride. The bus
Yeah.
is going too fast. Jesseeee is freaking out about it because Jesseeee has PTSD.
baby.
Ladies! They assure Jesseeee that it's okay. And then the girl who leans over to be like, nice party, Freddy's glove just comes through her chest.
Oh, and that jump cut is pretty bad. Like, you can very clearly see the jump cut.
Yes, and the bus drives off into Joshua Tree again.
Yeah.
And
that's the movie.
Roll credits.
So, having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what do you guys think about the movie?
I had a lot of fun with this. I think this is one of those horror movies that is not very effective at being scary, but is pretty bonkers and therefore pretty fun to watch. I'm actually really excited to eventually do 3 because everyone loves 3.
Yeah, that's Dream Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Mikey, what did you think about it?
Oh, I super enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I love the metaphor. I thought it kind of reminded me of Shocker.
Yeah.
Do you do that kind of like in tone of like it's kind of darker than the original, I think,
Yeah, it's pretty dark, man. Yeah.
but also not scary and also kind of silly and also kind of bonkers, and it kind of just hit all those things for me. The metaphor is interesting, I think.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought it was great. I don't think it's that scary at all. I do think had they changed it to where Jesseeee was one of the kids that Freddy took, and then he got away. He was like one of the ones that got away. But because of the stuff that he had to go through, and because he hadn't like worked his way through it, he becomes the serial killer like Freddy. And then it's not ever dreams. It is very much that he is sort of dealing with his sexuality, but also the trauma that he experienced as a child. And then over the course of his only friendship with Lisa, he decides to sort of get help. But I really do think it's a better movie if there's no dream, there's really no Freddy, and it's really just him processing through the trauma and coming to grips with his sexuality. I thought that would be cool.
I feel like you could make that movie and have it be an awesome movie and have it not be Freddy Krueger.
Well, I think that's a movie you could make, and at the end you're like, holy shit, the guy who took him was Freddy Krueger? Like, you never know until the end when you get like the final flashback that it was
like
Freddy
Nightmare
Krueger.
Expanded Universe, basically.
Where it's like, it's not truly like a sequel. It's more like a split. You don't realize it's a part of the Unbreakable universe until like the very last scene. Like, that would be a cool way to do this movie. But you wouldn't call it Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
But I think that would be a really interesting movie.
Yeah.
If I had to remake this movie, I think that's where I would go with it.
Yeah, I think that could be really cool. Well, do you want to get into fun facts?
Let's do it.
Let's get into those fun facts.
This movie came out less than a full year after the original movie came out.
That is
so fast.
Now,
insane.
I want to touch on it up front because we just talked about it last week. So the original glove from Nightmare on Elm Street was used in this movie, but also in Evil Dead 2. And it was in Evil Dead 2 because they had put Evil Dead on the television screen in Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
Right.
And so it's kind of a back and forth between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi. However, Wes Craven didn't direct this movie. So there's not an
Evil Dead reference in this one?
There's not an Evil Dead reference in this one. However, Wes Craven had the glove and loaned it to the people making Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and meant to loan it back to Sam Raimi for whatever he was going to do in his next film, but it was lost on the set of Dream Warriors.
How do you lose Freddy's glove?
Well, it was eventually found in 2009 by a fan of the franchise at an auction.
Oh, you mean that fan stole it like in 1988 and then just tried to sell it?
I mean, that fan went to the auction and was like, I think this is the original Freddy glove, bid on it, won it, and then they did confirm that it was the original glove.
That is like when you buy a painting for $50 and find like a Van Gogh under it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get through some really quick ones, and then we've got some kind of longer, more in-depth ones. So the 2 push-up scenes, the planking scenes are the same footage. It's just recycled twice in the movie.
Well, they're wearing the exact same clothes. Yeah.
Yeah. The opening sequence, and we kind of touched on this, is Robert Englund without Freddy Krueger makeup as the bus driver, both times.
Yeah, I figured it was either Robert Englund or Phil Collins. I couldn't quite tell.
This is the only Nightmare film in which the lead character is male.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. He's sort of like your final guy.
Yeah, we don't get enough of that. We're underrepresented in film.
Yeah, that's the problem, Mikey.
Fun fact, their first choice was Michael J. Fox.
Really?
Yes, but because of the tight shooting schedule of the movie, he was unable to do this movie because he was busy doing Back to the Future and Teen Wolf that same year.
Yeah.
So Robert Englund has actually stated that this movie is his least favorite because it breaks Wes Craven's rules. Here's a weird one for Grady. So Robert Rusler, who's the actor who plays Grady, auditioned on the last day of shooting Weird Science because he was in Weird Science.
Oh, no shit.
And his good friend drove him to the audition. That good friend, Robert Downey Jr.
What?
Yes.
Wasn't he one of the bullies in Weird Science?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, when Lisa finds Nancy's diary while helping Jesse unpack, she reads the address as 1428 Elm Street. The address of the actual house is 1428 North Genesee Avenue in West Hollywood.
They actually showed the outside of the house and you see the 1428.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the actual address of the house.
Can you just like go take pictures in front of it and stuff? Like, do people actually live there?
Yeah, people live there. I mean, here's the thing. Throw a rock in LA, you'll find a house where something was filmed.
That's fair.
So, you know, this one is probably not as popular. It's probably not on the tours and stuff, but yeah. So, as I mentioned, they had originally created a demonic parakeet puppet, but it was not used because they wanted a more realistic looking bird.
I want a puppet cut. Someone find me the puppet cut.
It sounds like that plan was poorly hatched.
Oh, man. Mikey, I love you.
Wes Craven refused to work on this film because he never wanted or intended to have a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. He didn't want it to be a franchise. And he actually wanted the first film to have a happy ending. He also didn't like the idea of Freddy manipulating the protagonist into committing the murders, because this is the only film in the franchise where Freddy kills his victims outside of their dreams.
Yeah.
Even though he's only on screen for 13 minutes of the 87-minute runtime. Now, during the scene where Jesse is setting up his room and they're reading Nancy's diary, the one where he, does the risky business dance.
Yeah.
He wears a light yellow button-down shirt with large black cross shapes. In 2019's It Chapter 2, Richie wears an almost identical shirt. Although Richie's shirt is a slightly darker yellow button-down shirt with small red cross shapes. The writer and producer actually pointed this out because it was a specific touch. It was noted that similarly, both characters' arcs involve the subtle revelation that they are closeted gay men, which in turn is used against them both by Freddy Krueger and by Pennywise, respectively. So both, and they are both the second film in each franchise. So it was kind of a nod to this movie.
That's great.
All right, so let's get into the bigger themes of this movie. Now,
all right.
Screenwriter David Chaskin deliberately wrote his screenplay to contain homoerotic subtext, but he didn't tell anyone. And the man who directed this movie, Jack Shoulder, was completely unaware of this as he started filming the movie.
Really?
Yes, and he did not like the first Nightmare movie. So he actively sought to kind of switch things up and change it.
Oh my
so
God.
he willingly kind of went along with the story. And the makers of the film initially denied this until the screenwriter came out later on, after the film was complete and had screened and had been out for years, and admitted that the subtext was intentionally written into the script in order to give the characters more depth. And the actor who starred in the movie, Mark Patton, who has his own documentary about this movie on, I believe it's on Shudder right now, called Scream Queen, which is great, is openly gay now, but was closeted during filming and was unaware of this during filming.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Now, the film was extremely well received in Europe because they believed that the subtext was like meant to be there. They're like, of course, he's gay. And the overseas popularity actually saves New Line cinema. This movie saves New Line because New Line almost basically went under if this movie wasn't successful, and the success of it in Europe is the only reason that it survived.
That's amazing.
It basically was big enough to give them cash flow, and in the following years, they basically made as many sequels as they could because it was a cash cow.
Yeah.
This basically turns them into a profitable studio. But because they weren't sure if that was going to happen, the head of the studio was on set for this movie constantly and micromanaged it to death, to the point where he and the director hated each other. And he kept trying to like lower the budget and rush the production. So this was released on November 1st of 1985. The original was released November 9th of the previous year. So not even a full year.
That is so fast.
There's a documentary about all the Nightmare movies called Never Sleep Again. Robert Englund basically says during filming, there were times when almost the whole cast was like, fuck this movie. And the main one was the pool sequence where Freddy appears to teenagers outside their dreams and kills a bunch of them. And he says he really struggled with it because he felt like it was going against Wes's rules.
Yeah.
Now, there's one more note. A lot of people have questioned why this movie doesn't continue the story of Nancy, because she does survive at the end of the first movie. So rather than continue the story of Nancy, the movie focuses on new people in her house. In the Never Sleep Again documentary, Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy, was never called for this movie. She wasn't offered a chance to reprise her role.
That's insane.
No one even contacted her to tell her it was being made until it was basically out already. There had never been any internal discussions at New Line about bringing her back. And it's been posited that the screenwriter and the director's new concept of Freddy, which was possessing someone in the real world versus killing someone in their dreams, seems so different that they didn't think bringing Nancy back would make a lot of sense. And the only reason that that concept makes it into this movie is because the director of this movie disliked the first movie so much.
Why would you hire a director that hates the source material?
I think maybe to get back at Wes Craven for not doing it.
Yeah, but that's such a gamble with your studio. Like, that's insane. That's Tom Petty right there.
It is. So Robert Englund almost didn't come back for the sequel. He didn't like the script, and they got kind of mad at him. And so he actually asked for more money to come back as Freddy. And New Line was like, well, fuck it, we'll just get somebody else. So they hired his stunt double from the first movie to play Freddy. But apparently the replacement was so awful and walked around like Frankenstein, they literally fired him and paid the extra money for Englund to come on set, even though he's only in this movie for 13 minutes.
That's just like Halloween 2, because Jamie Lee Curtis is all over Halloween 1. She's in Halloween 2 for 8 minutes. I mean, it's not 8 minutes, but it's so short because she's like asleep through the majority of it, right?
Yeah. And those are our fun facts.
Well, thank you so much for your fun facts. Do you guys want to do some box office?
Yes, please.
Nice. All right. So what do you guys think the production budget was for Freddy's Revenge?
I think with the amount of, because this is all practical effects. There's no CG in this. I'm going to give this at least 20 mil.
Oh, okay. Mikey, what do you think?
10.
The production budget of this movie was $3 million.
Good.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. For $3 million, this movie looks amazing.
I agree. I think they did a good job. And that's at $85. That's $3 million in 1985. So if you adjust for inflation, like...
It's like $10 million.
Yeah, so it is like $10 million today if you adjust for inflation.
But here's the thing. You couldn't, for $10 million, make a movie that looks this good today. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really
They did
good.
a great job.
They did do a good job. Anyway, so it came out on November 1st, 1985, like you said, Paige, during your fun facts. And it was fourth the week it came out. It was beat by Death Wish 3, To Live and Die in L.A., Jagged Edge, and then, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street was number 3. And it beat Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Although Back to the Future had been out 18 weeks.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it just barely beat it. Back to the Future, that had been out 18 weeks, made $2.4 million in that week. Nightmare on Elm Street, that same weekend, its opening weekend, made $2.8 million.
That's actually pretty good. That's almost making back its entire budget. In the first weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you already let us know that it made money because one of your fun facts is that it sort of saved New Line. I only have its domestic box office results, but it made $21.1 million domestically, which if you adjust for inflation is $54 million.
Dang.
It also, so it did okay here. It did amazing overseas.
Yeah.
And I don't have those numbers, but I have to imagine it's at least probably double what it made here.
So that's our box office numbers.
You guys want to do scary scale? Oh.
Yeah, let's do it, Mikey.
Yeah.
All right, so a scary scale is the scale 1 to 10 of how scary we find the film at the time of watching. It's not a quality of the film ranking, but it is how scared we were right today watching it.
Right.
Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Give it to me, Todd.
I'm going to give it a 1. I didn't think this movie was very scary at all.
Paige.
1 for me as well.
And a 1 for me as well.
So 1's all around. I did think it's a good movie. I think it's worth watching. I definitely do understand why people don't like it because it does break the rules that are established in the first one. But I think one of the reasons I like it is because in my mind, he was one of the kids that got away and he's just like dealing with his PTSD and Freddy's actually never there. But I realize that that's not what is happening in the movie.
No, yeah, that's not shown in the movie at all, but that's fine.
There is some debate even around the homoerotic themes in the film where you could read this as a boy coming to grips with the fact that he is homosexual and accepting it.
Yeah.
But there's also a reading of this film that is a boy being afraid, like so afraid of being a homosexual that he's killing people over it. And the only thing that cures him and quote unquote snaps him out of the thing that's inside him
is the love of a good woman.
Is a love of a good woman, which is really not great, especially because this comes out in like the peak AIDS epidemic.
That reading is super problematic. And that's one of the reasons I don't love the ending of this movie.
Yeah.
But I can see why people don't like it for that reason too.
I can see the metaphor being problematic. I think the movie is goofy enough and 80s nostalgia enough where like, and I guess this is one of those franchises where I'm not super invested in. Mm-hmm. It's not like Game of Thrones where I will bear that cross until I die that I hated how that ending was. But like with this, I was like, oh, they changed it up. It was neat.
Yeah. All right. So this week you guys made me watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. What are you guys making me watch next week?
Next week we are watching Insidious 2.
I'm legit terrified because Insidious really scared me.
Insidious 2 is almost worse. I'm so sorry.
Insidious 2 is pretty scary. But return of horror daddy Patrick Wilson.
Oh, okay. Hello.
He's officially been in 1/5 of the episodes we've done, I think.
Well, all right, guys. Watch Insidious 2 for next week. So, Mikey, do you want to read a review for us?
Yeah.
Well, while you look up in a review, let me tell them how they can have their review read on the podcast, and that is simply to leave us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes, or really just their podcast app now that they've updated all their software, and leave us that 5-star text review and make it something fun so Mikey can have a little fun reading it to us. Mikey, you ready?
Oh, we got some good ones this week. We're getting a ton of reviews lately. I'll do this one. Ashley Jello.
Oh.
With a J.
Yeah, Jello's always spelled with J.
It could be a silent J. It could be Ashley Hello.
Ashley Yellow.
Yellow.
She or he says,
they
say my latest obsession.
Oh, that's very sweet.
I absolutely love this podcast.
I don't blame you.
Todd and Mikey are great and super funny. I loved Jen, and now I love Paige.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They made
Oh, thank you.
They made the transition so smooth, and Paige fits right in.
Agreed.
Oh, thank you.
I've listened to almost all episodes over the last month and can't wait for more.
That's like 130 episodes in a month.
That's a lot.
That's insane. I mean, thank you. Well, we appreciate that, but that's amazing.
I'm not judging your life in any way, but like definitely join the Facebook group to get to interact with Todd and Mikey. They're super active in the group and even responded to me a few times. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. 5 stars.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Like, I try to respond to everything, although it's so big, it's hard to see. Like, there are hundreds of posts a day sometimes. So I'm like, oof,
Yeah.
I can't see all of these. But
Yeah.
I mean, we do try and respond quite a bit.
I want to do this review because it ends with, I love all 3 of you, but Mikey is my favorite.
Well, do it next week when Well, thank you so much, Ashley Jello, for that amazing 5-star review, and thank you so much for joining the family in the Facebook group. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
This episode was brought to you by Nick B.
Nick B. Nick B, fun fact.
Yeah?
He has some fall show recommendations.
Oh, does he?
That's a harder sentence to say than I was expecting. He's been rewatching Buffy, and he really enjoys it. Buffy, the TV show. And it's his fall Halloween recommendation TV show.
I like it.
Well, nice. I've never seen it. I may have to check it out. This episode also brought to you by Ori. And Ori, like, is such a good friend. They let me, like, I was losing my mind, and I was just trying to get away from Natalie for a little while. And they let me come over to their house and sleep on their incredibly small, like, armchair. And I amazingly fell asleep on it. I don't know how I did. I'm not sure if they made it through the night, but we covered that a few minutes ago. So thank you, Ori, for letting me crash on your, whatever that was. It's like an oversized armchair.
Yeah, it's like a chair and a half.
Yeah. We now return you to another episode of The Patreonicals.
Because we're in the Old West.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Holy shit, Mikey, I forgot. That's so funny. Okay, Mikey, let's do it.
They're in the Old West, and everybody wanders into this like stereotypical Old West town.
Nice. What's it called, Mikey?
It's Deadwood.
Is Al Swearingen there? Al Swearingen's my favorite character in any media ever.
Okay, so it's not actually Deadwood. It's actually Tombstone.
Okay. Is Wyatt Earp there?
Yeah, he is there. So he comes out to meet them, and
There's only room in this town for one sheriff.
it's him and his deputy, Andy.
Andy Earp?
Andy Earp, our new... Andy, he doesn't have a last name because he's a Patreonical member.
Okay.
And then Wild Herb is like, who's that blue man that you... Why is that man blue? He's making fun of Karun, you know, because Karun's an alien.
Oof. Yeah, you shouldn't make fun of someone who's got blue skin.
Yeah, so then Tristan shoots and kills Wyatt Earp.
What? That escalated very quickly.
That
Yeah,
seems
they're-
like an overreaction, but I'm not going to question it.
Tristan hates Blue Man Group racism.
And then Andy gets really scared, and he runs off and gets the other people from the town. They come out to fight everybody.
Right.
At the time, Matthew and Matthew Evil Matthew, are having a conversation where Matthew does not like Evil Matthew, and he's like, "You're gonna go. I'm the original Matthew. You're gonna go by Matthew R for Matthew Rude."
Matthew Rude?
Yeah,
For
that's his
Rude
last
Matthew.
name.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and then he's like, "I'm not friends with you. Don't talk to me."
Call me rude, Matt. Can you get it up? Call me rude, Matt. Are you rude enough? Take it. Okay.
So Matthew R becomes friends with Isaac.
Well, he's a cannibal.
Yeah, evil Isaac. He did all the bad. He did some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So they're becoming friends because Isaac's like, look, these people are pretty like straight edge, and it's not super fun. I'm glad you're here.
They don't like it when I eat people.
You seem like a fine young cannibal to me.
Have you ever tried eating people? Have you heard the good news?
Have you heard so he's proselytizing for cannibalism.
It's a yes, you cannibal.
Knock, knock, knock. Do you have time to talk about your Lord and Savior? Sorry.
All right, so then Andy comes back with a posse from the town, and Eddie starts talking to all the horses and gets the horses to throw them off the horses.
So he gets all the horses to buck him off?
Yeah.
They're like, what the buck?
Fuck you, man.
Kate decides before they got her, she decided to fly up in the air because with her telekinesis to see like where they were, and so she's flying around scouting out, and Tristan's like, can I just kill all these guys too? And then Isaac was like, I'm gonna eat one. So they all start attacking, like all the people who of questionable morals start attacking the posse.
I like how Isaac just opens up about it. He's like, listen guys, I'm gonna eat one of these dudes.
So he just jumps on the first one and just tears into him like a zombie attack because he's like,
Doesn't even cook him first.
no, he hasn't eaten in a long time.
He likes human tartar.
Yes, yeah, it's like sushi.
I don't know if you know, but Wild Earp was a snack.
He is now.
and so Dave, he tries to attack them and he gets shot like 14 times and he dies.
Well, yeah, he's not 50 Cent.
He passes out and dies again. He's just dead.
Wait, he's died twice?
He regenerates, but he's kind of useless with everything else. He's like Wolverine if Wolverine was like really shitty.
Okay. Does one of them yell, "You killed Dave, you bastards"?
No one yells that out because that would be too easy.
That's what they call low-hanging fruit, Todd.
Evil Matthew tries some evil flesh, and then Sasha was like, guys, if we don't kill one, he could teach us about the Old West. We could teach us where we are or whatever. So they're like, okay, whatever.
Sasha's
And
smart,
so they end
man.
up, she's pretty smart.
I do like how Sasha has a good idea, and all the men are like, yeah, whatever, man. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, Matthew's pouting because he doesn't like the Old West, and he doesn't like everybody being kind of evil, and he doesn't like any of this. So he's pouting at the side. So everybody listens to Sasha. She made us a very good argument. You guys, I can't even describe how good the argument was.
It was so good. If you were there, you would totally love it because it was the best.
K. Roon also dips his finger in a person's blood and tastes it, but he does not like being a cannibal and decides he will never taste human flesh ever again.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so then Andy comes to, and they're like, look, man, we're stuck in the Old West, and we just killed like your whole town accidentally on purpose. We need you to come with us as a prisoner and like show us where we are and all this stuff. Kate flies back, and she's super pissed because they've killed all these people accidentally and reprimands them. And we apologize to Andy, and he's like, well, it's my whole life, and that was my brother. And they're like, oh, it's okay. We have to get back to our own time. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? So then they decide to explain to Andy everything that's going on.
So Andy's the one towns member they leave alive.
No, just out of the posse. Most of the town is alive.
I thought like they legit went to the town and murdered the town.
No, it was like 8 dudes.
Yeah, just the people who came after them.
Yeah. So Eddie talks the horses into taking them wherever. So they just steal those horses and they're going to use those.
Okay, so they horse up and they leave?
Well, I mean, Kate comes back and she's like, look, we're stuck in the Old West. What should we do? They're like, we need to find a place to hide out, not in this town where we just killed 8 people. So they start heading for like an old gold mine. So they're gonna go in there and talk it out, and that's where we're gonna leave the episode this week.
Okay. Is Isaac gonna turn Matthew R into a life of cannibalism? Is Dave just Kenny from South Park? Now that our party is full of outlaws, what will the future hold in store? Find out next week on another episode of The Patreonicals. We are a member of the Consequence Podcast Network, so if you would check out their shows at consequenceofsound.net. If you want to check out our website, go to horrorvirgin.com, where you can see links to the merch store and all that great stuff. If you want to follow us online, we are at Horror Virgin on all of our social accounts. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Twitter and at Rampage Wesley everywhere else, including TikTok, if it still exists.
Yes.
Mikey is at MRandolph24 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I am at Todd J. Awesome on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we 3 have another podcast where we do pretty much this, but for romantic and romantic comedy movies, called Romancing the Pod, and we would love it if you would check that out and give that show a 5-star review as well. Seriously, it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. Paige is also on Black Card Rehab and, of course, the Cult Podcast, which is so great. Both of them are so great. And Mikey and I don't do anything else, so that's pretty much it.
That's it for us this week. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin Todd, guys.
Keep it spooky.
Have a great week.
Bye!
Consequence Podcast Network.